Alright guys, thank you very much for your time again. Obviously it's been a successful season for the club on and off the pitch. We just want to sum it up really quickly just before we start any questions. How you guys felt it went?
Yeah, I think brilliant, because in the end, we got exactly what we set out to do. Winning the league in that last game, that last cup final game at home was outstanding. A day that we'll always, everyone that was there, everyone that was involved with the club on and off the pitch, will always remember. I think it culminated in that, and it did really feel like a real reward for not just a year of hard work, but 2 years of hard work, or beyond when we came in. I think it's 2 and a bit years now. So yeah, I think overall you can't have any arguments or complaints, because we've done exactly what we set out to do. In winning the league and avoiding the playoffs, which we know we fell short in last year, but all that was part of the journey. And yeah, I think overall we can't have that complaints. Of course, we've got improvements to make, non-stop improvements, but in terms of the season overall, we're absolutely delighted.
Obviously the season before kind of finished a wee bit cruelly. Last time when we did this interview, we were probably licking our wounds a wee bit, but how long did it take to kind of get over it and kind of get started for the season that we've just had?
I think our first year, we had so long to prepare for the playoffs, because Stenhousemuir had not emphatically won, but they were quite a margin ahead. So that period there was 6-7 games that we had to prepare a team for the playoffs and get them as fit and ready as they possibly could. For us to fall so short against Spartans, it was majorly disappointing. I think the entire summer was just a complete lessons learned, and the recruitment had to be right going into this season. We needed to get that right, where we felt short throughout the season. Feel like we've done that, but to be honest, Curtis, it was probably the whole summer that that it hurt. And I think the key thing that we took away from it was learning where we felt short.
As you said, on the recruitment front, we got some business done really early with Ben, Kieran, Seb, Dylan and Max coming in before we'd even really started in pre-season, and just how key was that to get those guys in quickly and kind of up to speed with how we like to play? Yeah,
massive. I think in terms of recruitment, Luke, I think we've spoke about it a lot, and it's been pretty bang on. It's been, and that's full credit to the guys we've brought in. We're obviously in the midst of that right now. I'm sure we'll get on to that in regards to this year, but I think our hand was almost forced a bit in terms of what we were replacing, what we were looking for. Jinky was leaving, Hamish was leaving, Joe McKee was leaving, and these were big players for us. The year before we lost, off the top of my head, Flint Duffy, Alfie Stewart, they all played big parts in the club, in the team that year. But we'd identified, and I think what we needed, and these boys that were available and keen to join, and I think every one of them you've mentioned there, they've all played their part this season and had a real impact and a real effect on our outcome of the season and winning the league. So yeah, we couldn't be happier with how the kind of recruitment went last summer, and I guess that's the baseline for now.
I think it's also telling that you've taken in those guys, and 2 of them have gone and won awards at the end of season awards. You've probably got Max there, who's unlucky not to win anything. You've got Kieran there, obviously nominated for the Player of the Year in the league. Just shows how bang on the recruitment really was this summer.
Yeah, it was a strong summer. There's no denying that. On paper we've gotten it right, of course. I think the key attributes that we sort of identified were probably physicality and speed in the team. We're losing like Jinky and key players. Like we wanted a midfield guy that could look after the ball, but also go win battles and stuff in there as well. And I know bringing guys in like Max and players like that Seb, even to a certain extent, has been full time. These guys are quick, they're sharp, they're hungry. They've got full time at the back of their mind. Max is experience of winning a title, so it was key that putting all these attributes together, that they really helped challenge the group going into last season. I think they've done that with abundance, to be honest.
Obviously in the summer as well, we had your testimonial, Ryan. Obviously a really big moment for you. Just how special was that? The whole build up to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really mad 5-6 months just planning, preparing, you know, it's almost like a mini wedding type. You know, it's constant. It's on top of the jobs that you've got and the kids, and you know, balance all that stuff. But it was really rewarding. It's crazy to think that it was a year ago. That, you know, the night and the match against Fraserbrand, how far our teams actually came since then, on and off the park. So yeah, I mean, brilliant, loved it. I'll never forget it. 10 years, you know, we've got a bunch of guys now. It's 3 or 4 of them coming up. You know, Rory had his last night in his game next month, so there's a couple more coming up. The 2 Browns, and you know, it's rewarding for the guys that spend so much time, because you know, in this modern day, you don't get so many players that you know, they hold on to that 10-year service. So you know, it rewards both player and club.
First competitive game of the season was a bit of a weird one, because play against Queen's Park, come off the pitch thinking we've played quite well and run the wrong end of a hammering. Just how was that in terms of trying to almost get the boys back up for it, considering how we'd played? And
I think so. I think it was one that we referenced as well. Once we secured the lead on that last day, in how far we came. You know, it's easy. It's easy to look back and see these as factors, but I think there is, especially when you take a bit of time to reflect on it, there's big moments, and I actually looked at that one, the 5-0 in the first game. You know, we came off the back of 5-1 at home at Spartans in the last playoff game. We came back with a fairly new group. A lot of the new guys played that day. I think Dylan, you know, I think it was his back passing stuff we speak about a lot, and he gave the goal away. But then you look at the season he had, you know, so there's wee factors in that. And I guess we did feel like we played alright that day, but when you do have that, you then lose 5 goals again. And I know there was a different feel and different players in the team, but to recover from that immediately was excellent. I think the bounce back on that exact game was massive. I think we beat Elgin, we beat Kelty, you know, in that cup, which really then gave us that belief back within. Not that we didn't have it, but gave the new guys belief, gave the guys that were scarred maybe by the Spartans one, that belief again to kick on. So yeah, looking back to that, we needed that. You know, we didn't need it obviously, but I think to have that learning factor of that first game to then kick on was a brilliant reaction.
Those games that Jordan's mentioned against Kelty and Elgin, obviously Kelty being that division above, but that's the kind of team that we're looking to compete with, and to go there after they'd just beaten Hibs as well and put in a really good performance, win that, obviously the Elgin comeback as well, being, I think we're 2-1 down with about half an hour to go, win that 4-2, puts us in a really strong position in that league stage. And I mean, there was a chance potentially that we would have gone through if results had gone our way, but seeing that belief in the team and that improvement almost to get to that point.
100%. I mean, anytime you're playing against a full-time team, home or away, Queen's Park are a good team and they were ruthless that day. You know, it's 2-0 in I think the 81st minute or something, just challenging my memory now, but the guys were super competitive up till that point, you know, and we went out in a wee bit of a whimper at the end, which made the result, you know, a bit worse than it probably was on the pitch. But the bounce back was good against more realistic opponents of our level in Elgin and Kelty respectively. I think the Elgin game, you know, as you've seen the 4 league games, they were a very competitive team, physical team. They played us very well the whole season. But we came out quite strong that day, 4-2. Yeah, we're 2-1 down, but thought we held our own quite well, and it was a good point that Jordon makes, that the new guys sort of see, you know what, you know, we are a decent enough team, albeit it's early stages. Then we go down to Kelty, I think it was during the week, night game, you know, and we were defensively rock solid that game. It gave us a right good platform. You know, Scott and Jason were outstanding that night, and it really gave the team something to play for. We were good in the counter, we held on to the ball, and that was against a higher level opposition that also liked to look after the ball. So it did give us that belief in it. Like you say, it gives us a fighting chance of going into the Hibs game. All we had to do was go down there and beat them. On, you know, it wasn't asking much, but I mean, we set up a back 5 as well. So, but yeah, I mean, look, the league stages are difficult for any part-time team. You'll hear a lot of management teams saying that they almost use them as extra friendlies. It isn't the case. Obviously, they're competitive friendlies. They're good games. But yeah, we were more than competitive, which gave the team a wee bit of confidence going into the first Bonnyrigg game.
I think a point on that Queen's Park game as well. I think, you know, we come away from that, and I think we lost Shanks that day as well. You know, for the shoulder, we didn't know how long it was going to be. It turned out to be 3-4 months or whatever it was. So I guess the reflection after that game that night was a big chance to say, right, okay, where we're at, what we got, and I think full credit to the boys in the group that we reacted the way we did in that league stage to give ourselves a chance going into that Hibs game from coming off that pitch against Queen's Park, where it could have been a case of, oh, here we go again, but to go straight away from that and hit the ground running in terms of getting into the league as well was brilliant.
Recruitment was still ongoing at that point as well. I know Ollie came in later, but we didn't have Cammy either. And, so we're still working around the squad. The squad wasn't complete yet, so.
On Cammy, he kind of comes in as that marquee signing almost. How big was that really for you guys, seeing that you've got almost that pool to take somebody that was playing full-time football in League 2 in England all the way down to League 2 in Scotland? Yeah,
it was massive. It was massive. Obviously, I grew up with Cammy and a couple of years difference, but I grew up with him, come through Aberdeen. Ryan obviously knew about him as well. He's a well-known figure up here. A tremendous pro, on and off the pitch. His effect on the group's been outstanding. And I think just through conversation, we met him a couple of weeks before. He had obviously various options. He's based in Glasgow as well, but his desire to come and play for us was brilliant. And to get that through, and again, it's credit to Sharon and that behind the scenes. That I remember that Saturday morning before Bonnyrigg, we got that transfer kind of moving real quick. Got all the details, got all the paperwork through by that morning. That was to Cammy as well. Cammy wanted to play. He wanted to be involved that day. Obviously, didn't start that first game, but wanted to be involved straight away at a place like Bonnyrigg. So when you're coming from League 2 England,
welcome to League 2 Scotland.
You're coming from League 2 England. You're coming from full-time football your whole career. To come part-time and turn up at Bonnyrigg that day. But it was, and again, that's it is a great sign, and a great. Again, I feel like we don't like to say it, but of course it's a great field to have these players that want to come and play for Peterhead and see that as their next stage in their career, whatever that is. At Cammy's stage, he had options to go full time. Still, he had part time options down the road, but wanted to come and play with us and wanted to come and be part of the group. And I think, like I touched on there, his impact on it was brilliant. I think we saw him get better and better as the season goes on, because it's not easy, no matter how long a full time career you've had, how successful you've had. Full time to part time, it changes. You're not training every day. Obviously, you're training at nights. You're having to work.
It can take you 2-3 months to work out, even just how to make yourself as best
fit
as you can be for a Saturday.
Yeah,
because you're used to your full time week. That transition is very different.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
So that was a big one to almost finish the recruitment for the summer around that, and it kind of finished off that successful summer recruitment.
We kind of picked up where we left off the season before in scoring late goals. Obviously the winner at Bonnyrigg last minute, Forfar last minute, late goal against Stirling as well. Does that although the team's kind of changed in terms of personnel, that hunger and desire never left?
Yeah, it's not something that we've particularly coached or anything. It just games somehow fall like that. There was a lot of them the year before, and the one message that we probably did have early in last season was a lot of these late goals were for draws. So it was satisfying at the start, certainly in Q1 I think with 3 or 4 late goals, but it was for wins this time. So of course putting 3 points on the board is better than 1. So it was satisfying that way, but it's a mentality thing probably. Just the guys have got that edge to go into the 95th minute deep. They're fit, they're conditioned, they're ready, and they're desperate for 3 points. That's what other teams are, but we just showed that grit and determination about us for, like you say, first 3 or 4 games getting late winners.
We'd arguably probably had one of the best results of the season a couple of weeks later as well, away at Edinburgh. I think at the time nobody really knew just how good they were actually going to be as a team. I think most people had them tipped for relegation, but really stamped down a marker there with that 4-0 win.
We did, yeah. I think the way that game went that day was unique and brilliant, because we were 4 up by half time. I think some of the goals we scored that day were unbelievable. Obviously, I know Ryan got his first one in about 10 years, but again, that came from something we worked hard on. We worked on set pieces a lot. Jamie works on them at training, and we got a goal from a short corner there that Ryan scored. Max scored one with his left foot, which we've seen numerous times across the season. Obviously maybe not one that was quite as good as that, but you can see the technical ability he's got. Pete got a goal and Rose got a goal, I think was the other goal scorers that day, and I remember them all being really good goals. And it's you're right. Edinburgh were outstanding, you know, and got a lot of plaudits, rightly so. But I think the way we played against them in the games was really good. You know, down there, I think we won 4 and then we won a different type of game down there at the start of the new year. 1-0. So yeah, we had good success against them down there. But yeah, they had a great season and they were a different team. But like you say, at the time, people thought they were probably going to be the kind of whipping boys of the league, and they certainly proved that wrong. So
yeah, I think what's key to note in that 4-0 win, yeah, we were good, we were ruthless, we were excellent on the counter attack as well. Edinburgh held on to the ball as well, but like you could see Edinburgh were a good team that worked patterns, well coached with McIndoe and stuff. And another point as well was playing them throughout the course of the season, and we might get to it, but even like the home 3-2 loss, like we were excellent that day, and lost 3-2, and I know we'll touch on that part of the season, but you know, Edinburgh were a right good team, and credit to them.
We had a wee bit of a sticky patch kind of after that run of games. Lost to East Fife and Elgin, had a draw with Clyde. I think was that the last game that you played in the course of the season?
Elgin was my last game.
So that kind of rough patch, and then Ayr as well in the cup. Then the following weekend away against Stranraer, you don't win that game. It kind of almost went from the highs of such a really good start to almost the lows again a wee bit. And
yeah, I think that's what the football is all about. Of course, the highs and lows. It's trying to manage that. You know, the highs and lows, and not letting them have too much effect in the group. And our message was still clear to the boys. You know, we still had the belief that we would kick on again, which we did, especially through that tricky patches. But I think it is how quick it changed. You know, Andy got a bad one at Spartans the day we drew 0-0 there, and I think just after that, you know, he missed 3-4 months. So again, we're short on that kind of key bodies we had.
You're missing your 8, you're missing your 9.
Yeah,
Kieran.
Yeah, so
in their tricky venues as well. Spartans away, Stranraer away, Ayr United would give a right good account of ourselves. Yeah. So albeit results maybe weren't what we were wanting, we were still going in the right direction. Like there were difficult games. Each game presented a different set of circumstances.
Yeah, East Fife and Elgin ones were disappointing without a doubt. You know, but again, you've seen throughout the season that they were the two teams that were really up there with us. You know, so the quality they had. East Fife one was a disappointing performance when we lost there. I think it was 2-0. That was a real disappointing day where we kind of probably came away from what we'd done. Maybe the only game all season we maybe did come away from.
What upset me that game was, I think at the time, I think we were 4 points ahead of them. It could have went 7 if we won. Albeit our team was a wee bit scrambled. That would have been 7 points so early in the season. Of course, it was recoverable, but just a mentality thing that the teams, you know, one of your closest challengers were 7 points ahead of them. So, but we fell way short that day.
And then we had a run where it just seemed to be a 3-2 result. 4 games in a row. Arguably played our best football of the season and lost 3 of the games. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, we spoke about this throughout the course of the season a lot. After games, it was getting to the point, you know, we can't keep playing really well, creating all these chances. It was a point of the season that we created the most amount of chances, had the most amount of ball, and you know, we looked like we're a really imposing team during the game, but we kept losing 3-2.
And it did feel in that games as well where we weren't giving up, like we weren't all season, you know, giving up a lot of chances. But at that time, it felt like every chance the team had, they scored, and every shot they would have, they scored. You know, we're coming away and you look at stats. You can look at stats all you want. We look at them a lot in terms of metrics and stuff throughout all the data we get. But you're looking at it and kind of in a bit of disbelief, like you're saying, of how we've lost the games. But again, that gave us a chance to bounce back from that after it. I think the Clyde one was sore, and then we had was it East Fife after that when we had the home game, and the team, you know, we obviously took blessing in that day. Div Wilson played for him, I think the first time in a while at centre half. We're really short. Div and Caleb played, and that was a big moment for us to bounce back from that 3-2s.
Speaking about that kind of defensive partnership, we kind of almost changed completely to how we'd started with in terms of that. Two at centre back, and obviously Stuart and Blessing had the swap, but results seemed to pick up for a while then and get back in top on Christmas time. No fault of really Jason or Scott or anything, but just it happened to be that we started picking up clean sheets.
Yeah, and injuries and suspensions, as we know, happen so much, you know, and sometimes that freshness brings you some, you know, sort of a success, and it did for us around that period, you know, and the boys that came in done excellent. I said Div, Caleb, Bless, done really well. Jason Scott, Stu were out the team for various reasons, injury, suspension or others. Ryan was unavailable, so again the guys that came in and the clean sheets came, and we got to Christmas top of the league, which was fair, where we obviously wanted to be, and it gave us again that squad depth to come back and see what we then had for going into January.
Just before January we had the disappointment away at Elgin. It just kind of felt been hit for six almost on that day, and just for them to go ahead of us, I think we ended up going down to third after that, after being on top just the week before. Just how much of a blow was that going into the calendar year?
Yeah, it was difficult. Like, again, going up to Elgin's a difficult venue for us. Like, we found it historically challenging under our management. Like, difficult pitch, really difficult team to play against. They went 1-0 up in the game. I think it was Hyde went through and put over the goalkeeper, and then for the next 20 minutes we sort of found our bearings a wee bit. Had a couple of big chances. I think it was Kieran Dunn and Shanks, was it?
Yeah, right, and then Jack Brown got down the right side twice.
Yeah, I think we had a couple of good openings just before half time. So the message going into half time in that game was, look, yeah, we're 1-0 down, we haven't even started this game really, but we've had two big moments. Just keep at it. We were then coming out the second half to go down the hill. We start the first 5-6 minutes really well, front foot, corners. I remember Kieran Dunn breaking down the line, crosses into the box, and really had Elgin on the back foot. And then we go a man down. I think it was Kieran Dunn, gets his second yellow, and it just put us into There's 2 or 3 times in the course of the season that we played with 10 men, and it's so difficult for us.
Get to January, make a couple of additions. Obviously, Ollie had been waiting, ready to go almost since October. He was chomping at the bit. You could tell every time he's turning up before games and training on the pitch for you guys. You bring in Adam as well, 2 youthful players, and they came in and had a really good impact as well in the squad.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that throughout the last 6 months, the impact they both had. Ollie was a unique one for us, and something that came about just through conversations, through networks, and he was an absolute breath of fresh air. He came in, his attitude, his desire to want to play and learn is brilliant. I think we'll see him get even better and better. We've got a strong belief in that. But I think when he came in, we wanted to reward him as well, getting on the pitch. He'd, like you say, he'd been turning up for whatever red tape he couldn't get signed until that January. And we wanted to get him on the pitch as soon as we can, because we knew he had something different, had something unique, and he could handle himself. So yeah, great for him, and I think his impact throughout the season. I think he got 6 goals in the end, didn't he? He got a hat trick. That's not easy things to do, in any level in Scottish football or football in general. So he's got a real knack for a goal. Adam's one that again, a chance we had to take him on loan. A real youthfulness, a real freshness, but a good size, good technical ability, and another one we can think get better. We've obviously brought him back permanently, which is great. We're delighted to have him. He fitted in with the group, and again another one that'll, as he fits in, with that younger bunch we've got, and comes out of the shell, more confident, more comfortable, everything. And he's now another one that's going part-time, so again there'll be that transition, but we believe in him, and we'll back him, and the 2 of them we're excited for next year and beyond to keep improving.
I think just finishing on the winter window, like our team, we were in a decent enough position. The squad was quite healthy. I think we had a couple of injuries, but the 2 that we brought in they brought that real energy to the group, and we were a wee bit hefty with squad numbers throughout the course of the season, but that was a healthy point for us to have good numbers at training all the time and be able to work things that we wanted to do, and not be short in numbers all the time. And I think there was a point the year before, going back to that lessons learned, our squad, I remember a Stranraer game, I think we lost 1 or 2-0 down there, and the squad was just all over the place. I think there was 14 of us, there was red cards, and players playing injured for a number of weeks. So it was important that we had that squad strength, squad depth, and really challenge the team.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it all the time. We wouldn't just bring any player in for the sake of it. We thought every player we brought in, and I think we've missed out Jamie Walker there as well. Which obviously didn't probably wouldn't be looked at one of the more successful ones we had over the period. But again, he still had an effect. We needed at that time. Donny was struggling with his ankle a wee bit. He was suspended.
He came in, he made a really good block, and
the Strachan game at
Yeah,
home, I think,
home.
in midweek, and he blocked one line. It's easy to forget wee things like this. But yeah, he gave us that let. We didn't have another left back really. Obviously Caleb and Danny had played there. Jordon had been injured as well. At the tail end of the year, and again Jordon was probably another one that was unlucky just with injuries and everything else that happened throughout the season. So we needed to strengthen there, and we did. So again, that just gave us a balance to give, and maybe that gave us gave Dunny that platform again to go and kick on and have the outstanding finish the season that he had as well.
And then we had a really good run from January all the way till the end of March that put us in a really good position in the league. I think only lost to Spartans in that time, but it just, like the club just felt good every time you turn up on a Saturday. Everybody was just happy, which is something that you probably don't get quite a lot at football clubs, especially when, well, maybe a wee bit different when you're up at the top end of the league. But just how important was that feel good factor around the club when you're turning up on a Saturday as well?
Results create that. I think we'd done it the year before as well, just after winter, went on like a prolonged period of not losing. A lot of them were draws, but yeah, I think we were coming into that January period there or thereabouts where we wanted to be, strung a couple of results together, and all of a sudden the group had momentum, with key players come back at the same sort of time, and we thought as well, if we can get through this next 2-3 month spell with missing as key players as we were, their timeline was sort of coming back together at the same time, and that helped us massively. Not only with squad strength, it improved our starting 11 drastically. So putting all that wee dots and crossing them together, put a couple of results together. We came out of January and February quite strong, and then momentum, as we know in football, was very difficult to break. As soon as you start going 5, 6, 7 games undefeated, you'll soon find yourself up at 12, 13, 14. It's a powerful tool, momentum in football. So especially when the group's as confident as they were, and you start to sort of come at the tail end of Q3, you start to see the finishing line a little bit, and albeit East Fife and Elgin were right there up till pretty much Elgin were there till about the 7th, 8th last game, and East Fife were obviously there right till the end, but the team had confidence, and we're enjoying playing their football.
Yeah, and that's so important, that off the pitch thing. Again, we've said that, you said it, Curtis, from coming in and on match days, you feel it. We did feel it getting stronger and stronger. The belief in the group was getting stronger and stronger, and that's our mentality again. I think you mentioned earlier about East Fife game, or Ryan mentioned when we could have went down there and really put them out of sight in terms of early in the season, but 7 points. When we went to East Fife the day we drew 0-0, with that period, I think they could have done the same to us.
Yeah.
So I think our message that day was, look, nothing's won that day, but we do have potentially you could lose that. If that went 7, it was massive. And again, the way the game went that day, I think we're really good. Pete came back in after a spell out, which was excellent. Again, we felt like we had control of that game for large parts of it, and then Cammy's massive chance at the end, which we still play back in our heads, and I'm sure he did for a while. Obviously, we've won the league now. We can kind of look back on it and a bit more relaxed. Yeah. But again, to come back from that, because that could have again been a moment where the boys went, we should have won that game. We could have won that game, and whenever. But again, the belief and the mentality behind the scenes and in the group just got stronger after that, and thought, what, keep ourselves in touch with East Fife. That was always the aim. We knew we had to play them in the second last game of the season, and I think that helped generate what we're saying about the finish line being in sight, and that sometimes just tweaks the focus and concentration that wee bit more, which again made the boys hungrier, focused, and we did see a difference in that to last year, where of course then he went out of sight pretty early, so no, that helped massively, and I think that the core and the mentality within the group and everyone we spoke about there really did drive that to that final game.
The on-field factors got better at that point, but I feel like our presentations and the quality of our analysis got better at that point as well. We were obviously quite high in data and diagnosing Y-Scout, referencing highlights packages, improvements for the week after, and just the way that we sort of came across and the actual factors that we were looking at, rather than is it bringing value, is it not bringing value, just the way we sort of put the package together was probably more improved for the team as well, and it became no hiding spot as such, but
the transparency and the trust between the group there. The boys were right bought into what we were trying to do on the Wednesdays where we have that. We spent a lot of time, ourselves, Jamie and Rebecca, behind the scenes doing a lot of data work. But it had to be right and had to be relevant, and I think we did that, on the Wednesday night before training, when we drove that one once together, and that had a real benefit. And the boys seen that and took accountability every single week, good or bad, and took that into the following Saturday. So yeah, there was a right good momentum and a good routine going on.
I think in my personal opinion, that game that you guys have kind of referenced, the way it gave you, for me, was the most important game of the season. I think it was a day where, as you say, we didn't lose touch. It almost felt like a not lose. It wasn't really a must win at that point, but it was definitely a must not lose.
Yeah,
I think it's.
Do you guys agree, or do you have a different game maybe that you felt was crucial?
Going back to your first point, I'll probably forget the second part of the question to remind me, but going back to that Bayview game, I think that was a point where we sort of said, look, of course we'd like to win the game, of course we don't want to lose the game, but we sort of told East Fife that day that we weren't going anywhere. They played 95 minutes and they didn't create a single thing in that game. That was the good point about that little run that we put together, is with so many clean sheets, and the team didn't even really look like conceding goals at certain points.
I think, and that was a big mention as well. We talked about the change from Stu to Bless early in the season. That was the day we went Bless back to Stu, and Scott and Jason came in again, probably for the first time really since the run of the 3-2s and the debates around that. And I think the way that they handled themselves in the last 10-12 weeks of season from there gave us a real base. Obviously with Pete Dill and Andy as well in that midfield area. Just
the first game at Bayview went down in Austin and Troughton and these guys. They gave us a really difficult day that day defensively, and whether it was tracking runners or the physicality of the game or in behind. But when we went down the second game, we'd done the homework, and the guys handled themselves really well, and they were in the right positions at the right time.
And we had consistency in what we were doing then, because I think Danny came back in the team and was outstanding until he'd done his hamstring. And Dunny everyone knows Dunny and knows how exceptional he's been, and coming out of where he came from this time last year to where he is now. As he grew throughout the season, especially in a forward, there was never any doubt really of his numbers, his assists and goals probably. He would like to get better, and we would like him to get better in that as well. But I think there was always a question on defensively, especially after the Elgin thing at New Year, getting sent off. But I think the way he carried himself from that East Fife game, the rest of the season, he showed he's a real good left back, and took that defensive responsibility on board. So that then gave us the platform to, as we've said, keep as many clean sheets as we did on the run-in. So I think that day gave the team a belief that we knew we had, but also gave the East Fife and Elgin, we weren't going anywhere in terms of letting our chance of winning the league slip.
So it didn't answer your question.
Was that the most key? Was that the key game? Yeah, I think you can look at so many moments, can't you? Last minute winners, or losing last minute winners. If the Clyde won the 3-2 you're talking about.
What was it? A key game in the season?
Yeah.
I think we ticked off a few things. I think beating Spartans was a big one. The 2-1 at home, when Henderson missed the late penalty. I thought that was a big moment, because again we played Spartans so many times and we got so much respect for them as a team. That beating them that day was big. I think early in the season. But towards the end there, I think even beating them again at home.
The home Elgin game was a big one as well.
Home Elgin was a big
one.
That day. Edinburgh City at home, that was all in that same period, wasn't it? East Fife, Edinburgh, Elgin, all the teams around us. That's the big games. But no, there's no bigger game.
There's no one standout, Carl.
Well, there is a standout. The 26th edition against East Fife was definitely again. I'm sure we'll get to that, but I think that what you're saying, that period, and clean sheets and grinding it out, was brilliant.
As bizarre as this sounds, that Elgin game as well that you've referenced that we won 2-0 was only the second time all season that we'd won by more than one goal. And it certainly doesn't feel that way because of how much domination we had in a lot of these games.
Yeah.
But to go there, to play at Balmore, and really that took Elgin completely out of the title run as well. That kind of stamped our authority in saying that to East Fife as well, after having the point down there the week after following up with an equally as big result as well.
Yeah, and I think that is a great point. It's easy to forget that for the amount of time we spent in the season in control of possession or dominance in games, we weren't killing teams off. So to do that day was, I think we're 2 up quite early on in the second half, and Seb came on and done brilliant. I think that one, and I guess that was, we'd like it more often obviously to be leading more than a goal, but I think that just showed you how tight the whole season was, and we did know it's something. I think you're going to say we're trying to, obviously want to try and kill games off and probably take more chances and score more goals. We do know that's something that we need to do, but in terms of control, it was we're happy where we were, but of course you'd been happier if you were an extra goal out of sight.
Then everything kind of did come up our way in that game against Bonnyrigg. Ollie comes in. I think was that the game that Shanks was banned. Ollie comes in and
Ollie and Shanks played together that game. Oh, sorry, the 5-0.
Yeah.
Oh, the 5-0.
Shanks was suspended, was he not?
Yeah.
Was it 4 for a week before?
Yeah, and obviously Ollie comes in. It's safe to say took his chance that day and gave you guys a big selection headache. Considering how many goals Shanks had scored before, it was quite difficult to drop him or try and almost get the two of them playing together is difficult as well, because that means having to drop someone else. But that day, Ollie really announced himself to the fans.
He did, yeah.
What I like about Ollie is just all his attributes, like big, tall, good in the ball, so much energy. He's really quick for a big guy, and like you say,
simplifies the game.
Yeah, he holds it in quite well as well. He's quite strong with shot. He's a bit like, takes the ball in a wee bit like Chris Sutton did, like into the chest, and a good reference there, Sutton. But he took his chance. He was excellent that day. The team were brilliant that day at home to Bonnyrigg. It's worth noting that they'd obviously just changed their manager. I think it was a week before, so they're maybe a wee bit down in confidence, and results weren't going their way. But we were really good that day. And like you say, with Kieran, who was our main striker for the season, with the suspension, Ollie did himself no harm. He played the week after. So yeah, for the final 4, 5, 6 games, Kieran did. It wasn't a case of just Kieran comes straight back in. Ollie's done well, and that's what good teammates do. They push the players a bit like Blessing done with Stuart, and the defensive guys have done with each other as well. Jamie Walker referenced with Kieran Dunn, and
good competition all over the place.
That's what that does. It promotes healthy improvement.
That last 5 games, we knew that if we won all our home games, we'd won the league. Obviously, we then win the first 2. Wee bit of a disaster up at Elgin and a few unhappy fans, but understandable considering the performance on that day. Did you guys lose any belief at all that day, or was it just one of those days that maybe helped the team in a way and saying,
I think it did.
Can't drop our standards?
I think it's, again, of course, easy to say now because we got the outcome we wanted. But I think, and I referenced it after, the guys had worked so hard from all season, but from January, that run we just spoke about to that moment. And I think when there's a chance to win a league, on the actual day, I know other results have to go our way and stuff, but a chance to win a league that day, there maybe is just that wee bit of fact to think, oh, this is real, this is happening. For boys that maybe haven't done it, but I guess everything went wrong. We'd conceded 1 goal in 8 games and we conceded 3 in 8 minutes, whatever it was. But again, the guys had given them, and we said that straight after the game. We said, look, whatever's just happened has happened. You guys have earned the right to have another shot at this next week at home. You've earned the right to have a slip up, whether it was that Elgin day, whether it was the week before, 2 weeks before. It happened to be that Elgin day, which was disappointing because we've taken big travelling support, which has been a disappointing thing for us.
2 or 3 times and we always let them down.
Taking them to Elgin, and I think that's been the disappointment because we never really gave them anything to shout about or get on board with. So yeah, I think it gave us more belief because that week again was so focused right from that moment after that game. We had a really good session again on and off the pitch on the Wednesday. Knew what we were going into Saturday, and then for that point it was fully in our hands to have that last game at home, win the last home game, you win a league. That doesn't come round often a lot against your nearest rivals.
The focus that week was a joke. It was
outstanding.
the team's drive, whatever I'm trying to say, they were just so focused on, and that makes us extremely proud. We didn't even need to speak to them. There was no shouting after the Elgin game. Obviously the supporters were upset. I think at one point I went over and showed them I was upset at them, but that's just emotions. It's raw, it's quick. the team had showed no sign of a bad result, conceding goals, not scoring goals, not controlling a game in like 10, 11 weeks, and we just were outdone by a really good Elgin team that day. We weren't even upset. We were upset, of course. We weren't shouting or, you know what I mean, after the game.
No, the line was
The
drawn.
focus was just there. That we knew what we needed to do through the week. Let's plan, prepare and execute, and we've done it.
And again, it's cliche to say, but looking at it now, of course, it might have been the best thing that happened because the boys then had that real desire. I mean, I think Jason in particular, I'll reference him, because he lost his man for the goal, you know, and it was someone was big on that, you know, he lost Jack Murray for that header, and it just gave him that extra, you know, that bit of like, this can't happen again, you know, this cannot happen next week. And I think you've seen the following week the way Scotty and Jason were in that game and won every single header, you know, right from minute one, and the amount of high balls that East Fife put in the week after. I think again you can look at that.
It's something I always say to the guys, especially defenders, and these guys, is like being a defender myself. The centre half sort of starting the game strong, getting the better, winning their duels, maybe making a safe pass or being comfortable. They assure the whole team like of comfortability. And I thought Scott and Jason done that on that East Fife game. They won the first duel. I think the highlights package, there was a ball put straight forward from Dylan Easton, and Scott wins it. Dylan wins the second one, Andy wins the foul, and then it just settles the team straight away.
A bit of a technical malfunction there, so we're not sure exactly how far we've quite got into there, but I'll just go back to that question about the lead up to the East Fife game and how you guys were feeling going into it.
Yeah, I think yeah, like we just touched on. I don't know if we spoke about that either just before, but I guess the way the game went the week before, in the team selection wise we had, you know, and guys like the guys that came off at half time the week before at Elgin, Div, Seb and Cammy, you know, I think their reaction throughout the week and into the game the following weekend was brilliant. Div again reliable and was brilliant that 90 minutes. East Fife, Seb comes on, should score in the game and had a real good impact. And then yeah, I think going on to how we were feeling, and there was a calmness, you know, a real composure about the whole week from that finishing that game at Elgin and the disappointment we had. You know, it was the longest week ever. Trying to process everything, but again there was that unique feel that we had it in our hands and we knew what we had to do on the Saturday. The team knew what they had to do. So yeah, there was excitement. Obviously, very early stage of our management career. You know, I think it's unique that anyone would have that situation anyway, in the chance of winning a league against your nearest rivals at home that day. But yeah, a real control and focus and hunger to go and do it, and I think that Elgin game drove it on, and the guys that we picked, the guys that came on were all brilliant that day.
I think if you could have asked me one person for that ball to set up to score that goal, I think I would have probably picked Pete. Right place, right time, fantastic finish, and you wouldn't expect anything less from him.
Yeah, you know, that's what we're doing as a club. We're paying for his experience, and he's delivered. Yes, there's probably 2 or 3 other guys that are up there with his technical ability that could have been on the end of that, but you know, Pete has that real calmness and presence about him to just, you know, get his body over the ball and not let the occasion take over. I think if you're comparing it a little bit, Max was through 10 minutes before one-on-one and puts it over the bar, and that's unlike him. So it does show you what a wee bit of calmness, composure, experience can do for a player in a big moment in a game.
Best celebration of the season as well from Pete himself.
Running the whole pitch. Yeah, I think
that was his only goal this season.
No. He got the dink at Edinburgh, did he? Yeah. And I won it one. But yeah, I think that was enjoyable, was it? Right down these 5 fans and down to our side of the pitch, and I think towards his family, which was special. Yeah, we're still a long way to go in the game, but yeah, it just felt such a big moment.
Just talking about fans, like the atmosphere that day was excellent. These 5 bring up 400. We've like 1,700 of our own, and just, you know, the whole had a right good atmosphere about it, whether it was families, whether it was, you know, it was East Fife fans that were boozy on the bus on the way up, or whatever it was, you know, it just had a right good, it was a great experience for us as a team, as a club. Supporters enjoyed their day. It was really windy and quite wet that day actually, so it was, you know, it wasn't maybe the best spectacle on the pitch, but just the whole like day was, you know, Peterhead as a club should never forget that, and we certainly won't.
I think the 5 minutes or 6 minutes of added time, or possibly the longest 5 or 6 minutes probably most of the people on the ground have felt. I can only imagine how it felt for you, but it's safe to say in that game, East Fife really didn't create anything of note. They only had the one chance, which was a wee mistake from Dunny, which is really unlike him. But other than that, it looked such a comfortable game. It didn't look like it was first v second in that game.
Yeah, and I think if you stripped everyone away from the enormity of the occasion and stuff, you know, and it was a normal game, I think they would have exactly that. You know, you'd have come away with it thinking, oh, that was really comfortable. You know, that was a good 1-0 win, should have been more. I think with everything that was going on there, and you're always on edge, like you touched on earlier about the 1 goal deficits, or the 1 goal kind of swing that had been most of the season. I think Dunn had a big chance second half, and then obviously Seb had as well. But on the other side, apart from that Elgin game, which we spoke about, you know, the guys didn't look like conceding for the last maybe 10 games. So
solid.
That in its own, but of course when I think they got a couple of set pieces, they got a couple of free kicks late on, they're always a danger because they're a big physical side. And they had players in their team that had scored a lot of goals. I think they'd scored the highest goals in the league, you know, so there was always that wariness, but again there was that control and that drive from the guys. Scott Jason Stew, that experienced core at the back, the midfield three, you know, like right through the team.
They handled the occasion excellently.
Yeah.
The from the first 10
And there
minutes.
couldn't be more of a pride from us in that the guys had learned from everyone we spoke about in the last 2 years to culminate in that game.
From the first 10 minutes into the game, you know, we felt like we settled really quickly. There was rumours coming out of their side of the dugout that, you know, people are saying, oh, they're better than us and whatever it may be, as in we're better than them. We handled the game, the start. Our distances, I thought, were brilliant that day. Defensively, we were rock solid, as we had been for about 13 of the last 14 games. In East Fife, obviously, the latter stages of the game end up with like a 2-8 formation, you know, just throwing the ball into the box, all these physical big guys, you know, 6'2", 6'3", but like the guys handled it really well. They stayed with their men, they made contacts, they were good, and then we posed a threat on the counter as well, because, you know, for all the players that are thrown forward, there was gaps obviously at the other end, and you know, like Seb and Cammy, they had chances later on in the game that could have really put the scoreline a wee bit more how we felt it should have went, but at the end of the day, a win was a win.
Memories for a lifetime. I think that goal, I think, will be played normally, but I think the quality of the goal is actually excellent. It looks a bit scrappy because of the right hand, what happens on the right hand side, I think the way it breaks the Cammy, but against everyone that we've drove and everyone the players have drove is that control in midfield where Pete bounced it in, Andy plays the ball, I think it's to Max, it gets round the corner to Cammy's making that run from the opposite side coming in that Seb's done so many times as well, or Jack Brown in that areas, cuts it back and bodies in the box, which we maybe never done enough of from midfield, and Pete gets his goal. So I think the quality of that goal, and I'm delighted that'll be played kind of forevermore at Peterhead, you know, and that was a big thing for us as well. Obviously a lot of us had done it before, obviously not as managers, it was so unique and amazing, but the experience we had in there to go to that occasion and do it, and for the ones that hadn't experienced, to kind of say to them, look guys, this will be the best time generally of your life, so you'll always look back on these days and think, you know, it was 1-0, but it was that day that we won the league, and it was that memories that again drove on and helped us not motivate the guys but keep them in touch with exactly what this meant and how big it was.
The messages, calls, emails, discussions, work, you know, they were coming in by the hundreds, but some of them were referencing, you can never take what you have done away from you now, and that's, you know, that's us, that's the club, that's the players, they've won a medal, you can never take that away, they'll retire as a champion in their own respect now, so, you know, just a great day, great experience.
Celebrations after the game were pretty good as well. I think everybody enjoyed themselves.
But that's what we spoke about as well. Again, it was another thing that drove on, because I don't know how far we got on the camera obviously, but we spoke about, you know, at training it was very much like the unknown was driving us on, because we knew there was a players' night. It was always the last home game. There's the awards night for the players. So it was a case of, look, there's rooms there, there's upstairs, it's however you want to make this night. There's the trophies in the ground in the morning, you know, it doesn't leave the ground. All that stuff, and yeah, the night was brilliant. I think to have a night like that at Balmoor, for it to be, I think, the first time winning it properly at home, you know.
So much of families and that were up as well.
Yeah,
it wasn't just unique. It wasn't just a supporters experience.
No.
It was the families, the kids, experience for everybody that just felt really communised, or, you know what I'm trying to say.
Community
but
on board, and everyone was on
all,
board, and
it was a right together feel about everyone.
Yeah,
It was great that it was the first ever 35 game season as well, because I don't think there was a 36.
I don't know what happened the week after.
Did we have a game that day?
I think the boys were already on the plane.
Just personally for you guys as well, obviously a lot less minutes on the pitch for both of you. I know, Ryan, maybe not everybody knows your kind of situation you've had with injuries and being unwell.
Mm-hmm.
Jordon, you've maybe more choice wise for yourself. For you two, how has that been? Being more on the sidelines than on the pitch and almost controlling the game from there rather than being vocal on the
I think it was no coincidence that in that last, when Ryan had stopped playing, and that's not taking Ryan out of the team, but I think we had the most success when we were both at the side and we were both driving on and we were all aligned on what we have. Sometimes when you're on the pitch or off the pitch, it's difficult to see the game differently. You always see it differently on the pitch. But we did with the three of us, the two or three of us at the side, us two and Jamie, and actually all aligned with what we're seeing was brilliant.
I think on your comment there, I think the point at that stage of the season was so early. We'd quite a lot of 30 plus players starting our team. There was Scott, there was myself, there was Stuart, there was Rory,
Pete.
there was Pete, and there wasn't really a youthful, energy about the team. And once we took maybe one or two of us out of it, we seemed to get the rewards out of having more energy through the team.
And that's so important nowadays. You can see that. The running power, the energy, fitness, movement, sharpness, which does
Pressing.
get harder. Which 100% does get harder, and especially from my personal point of view, like I've always been one that I need to train all the time. I need to be playing all the time. So to do that in and out, it just doesn't work. It generally doesn't work. I guess I missed the first 4 games as well with the suspension and then the last season's kind of referee one with a penalty at Spartans, and that set me back personally. And again, I would always and never jeopardise I wouldn't put myself on for the sake of putting myself on, basically. And I think a big thing, sometimes rightly or wrongly, I don't put myself on, or I didn't put myself on, or we didn't decide to put me on. But again, another one that people probably don't realise, as a sub, as a manager, that it's to go and warm up is hard.
Mm-hmm.
So why do that? It would just do myself an injustice, do the team an injustice. So when we've got the other boys, we're a squad full of talent. I think that was always our aim from day one. We got this. We didn't want to rely on ourselves. And obviously when we're thrown into this 2.5 years ago, or whatever it was, we were basically had 11 players, and that included ourselves, which we felt could go and trust and play. So I guess that was always the aim, to continue to distance ourselves. And look, if we're required over time, of course we'll be there, ready to play. But I think not doing ourselves an injustice or the team an injustice. It's always about the team, and I think the squad of players we've built, we shouldn't have to rely or use ourselves in that situation. So I think
that is our transition. Our transition is to move away from the football field,
which I think we've shown over the last year. So to continue to do that, definitely. And improve the group on the pitch and improve. We know at our age, at our stage of our career, we're not going to improve a starting 11. So that is our aim, to continue to improve the starting 11. Yes, there might be times in a season where we feel a bit of experience, or we're chasing a goal, or we're needing an extra defender on the pitch, where that might work. But our definitely transition is to continue to improve the team on the pitch. Without us, and like Ryan said there, the taking, obviously that's, I think what we'll maybe touch on is there's now an excitement and a freshness about the group again. Ourselves, which have been distancing ourselves out of the team with the over 30 thing. Obviously Stuart's away, Scott's away, Rory's away. These guys have been embedded in Peterhead, especially Scott and Roars. So I think there is a freshness where now there's another wave coming through, and a time to really
getting the next Scott and Rory.
Get the next ones coming through Peterhead, and with also having experience in what we've got in Jason, Andy, Pete, guys that have been at the club for a long time. So it's an exciting period for sure.
I think I'll go into the community-based questions now, and I think about 95% of them are around the transfer business this summer. Obviously signed Adam, but it's been quiet so far. A lot of your priorities are probably getting guys that are currently here signed for next season as well.
Yeah, I think I said it right after the season. I think our main aim this year, our main recruitment aim was the importance of getting boys re-signed. You know, we're almost there. It's been a long 5-6 weeks for us. You know, it is relentless, and it's exactly how we know it is. I think every year this stage comes round, and the off season is crazy, and every part-time manager, every full-time manager would tell you that. Probably more part-time, to be honest, because we're doing a lot of it ourselves. You know, there's nothing ourselves and Jamie. You know, we're really working hard on that. It is non-stop, as cliche as that sounds. But I think our aim always to, and you've got a title winning team and you've got a core, you know, that is so important. So I think our biggest thing this season, recruitment wise, is keeping hold, and was keeping hold, you know. To have somebody that Andy signed up again when there was a lot of interest in that was brilliant. We feel we're close with the 3 that are still outstanding on decisions one way or the other, and we'll hopefully know more on that. We don't want to say too much on it. I think that is important, and again, the patience and having, we're going to have to, we've showed patience now for 5 weeks or so. I think everyone, it was great when we finished the season on the 26th of April, and we know we had the game the week after, but it felt, wow, we've got so much time. But I guess in a way that's been frustrating for us, because as you've said before, we want to get our recruitment done really early and have guys ready. We're 2 weeks away from pre-season now, but I think it's almost felt like, oh, this is taking forever. But when we look at it, we've still got 2 weeks to pre-season. If we had playoffs 2 weeks after the season, you know, the Scottish football season only finished, a week past Monday, when the championship final was then. So I guess we've been finished for a while, so it feels like it's maybe went on and on. The rest haven't, and I think now we're really seeing a time where we're at the start of June, going into the middle of June, where we need decisions, the club needs decisions, players need decisions, agents need decisions. And yeah, it's relentless. We're comfortable where we're at, but it is challenging. It really is challenging. And I'll let you maybe take it on from there.
It's very difficult. One way or another, the focus was obviously to tie up the players that were out of contract, that we wanted to, you know, keep that core group of 14-15 players. And based on that is how we would go into the market thereafter. You know, do we need, you know, for example, if Andy left, you know, we need to replace him. If Kieran leaves, we need to replace him. So positions were key, depending on how we managed to keep players during renegotiation. Like I say, we're probably within the next 3-4 days going to have the 3 players announced one way or another.
Does there come a time where you have to
absolutely
just say,
of course, 100%,
and we're almost at that now. But I guess the importance of and the belief we have in the core group, you know, in terms of negotiation we've had, you know, the importance of them signing or not signing or whatever will, because we need to. We're not going to run with, you know, we can't run with a massive squad. You know, clubs in Scotland can't run with a massive squad in the lower leagues. There's obviously the loan corporations and everyone as well, which we are looking into, and I think teams will be more and more reliant. But I think, as we said, the leagues get stronger and stronger each year. Whether that's a player choosing a career path for whatever reason, coming down the leagues, or younger ones maybe again coming down to look to kick on again.
I think
so. We know we need to improve. The 11.
I think there's factors also, like we're finding it difficult as well with other teams like East Kilbride, for example, coming up, and you know, all these teams were all in the same sort of market for the top players. You know, that everybody wants the same players, so we're challenging against full-time teams. A lot of these younger guys maybe want to go give it championship or lower end of the Premiership, or we're faced with teams that are in the juniors or the Lowland League that are spending an absolute fortune, you know, so it's one way or another, but you know, it's difficult. Maybe players that want to go higher than us, or they want to go logistical issues, or they want to go lower and you know, get the big checks, you know, so
yeah,
it's difficult. But what we will probably finish and say on that, you know, the transfer talk is, you know, we're in discussions with a number of players, and there's some exciting ones in there, so.
And again, it needs to, just my point on there, improving the 11, I didn't mean exactly improving the 11, you know, we need to improve the 11, but we need competition for the 11, you know, and we need to get the right player. We're not just going to say, you know what, we're in the 8th of June, let's go and sign that player just because he adds to the group. No, it needs to be right,
I think
it needs to align that.
We all think that our starting 11 needs to improve by 3 players. So,
have you identified
positions,
those specific positions? Another couple of questions in around obviously we've got the link up with the Buckingham Juniors and that development squad aspect. Is there any of those guys that you're looking at maybe bringing in? I know there's been a few who came along to some training sessions during the course of last season.
I think that the 18s team and stuff, it's really in early stages just now. I think there's going to be a lot of movement with players to and from. I think we've had a few that have been in training with us at the Sports Village that have, they've handled themselves all right. We had do we not have a friendly game? One of the guys came along, the Dice Juniors game, that we brought along. So it's, of course, yes, we would like more numbers coming through, but that is still at very early stages of progression. These guys are young. It's a massive, massive step, not only to Buckenhaven Juniors, but to go again and come to us, But yeah, it's something that we're, without being involved in, we're involved in it a little bit as such. And
I guess obviously our priority and everyone's priority now is the, we need to be competitive in League One next year, first and foremost. But with the backing we've had from the board, we obviously have signed 3-year contracts. We are always looking at ways we can improve in terms of integrating whether it's Buckingham Youth or, like we spoke to a number of players over the last few weeks as well, guys that are north based, potentially leaving, in Aberdeen or leaving a Dundee, wherever it is around here, and trying to also, obviously we don't have massive scope because we've only got 24 hours in a day and we've got a million other things that we're doing, but we are trying to integrate that as well, where we've had guys along. If it means that we can take some players in, and be involved in the fringe of the first team and then loan them out, as well as taking that into, whether that's to Buckenhaven or to the Highland League or to other league clubs, and then build that. It saves us losing out on the likes of, we use Max as an example from Bucky. He left Aberdeen and potentially could have came to Peterhead, and before he did, and then 3 years later, he gets the building he does and comes then. So I guess we are always looking at that, and we feel that network we've got is good. But again, it's the player's decision whether they want to come down that route. On that, Caleb's probably one that Jamie's got a network on down south. Where we took him from. Caleb could have been one that went down to a B team in England or an under-18s team, so we are of course trying to raise that profile of young players coming in, but
there's always players leaving Aberdeen at 16 and stuff as well, and we're in conversation with them all the time, but again you're competing against Montrose, all the Highland League teams, Elgin as well, and
Cove as well.
So Cove, it's extremely difficult, but it's something, it's a project that, as I say, it's early, but we're working on it. It's something as well that our Wednesday session, we will have to run with a tighter squad, a tighter first team squad, so we like to do a lot of things like patterns and attack v defence on the Wednesday when we're all together, so it might be an opportunity for 2 or 3 of the young guys to come through and show us what they can do, but also help our training session out as well. It might be something that we can look at throughout the course of the season to help us have the training session that we want. But yeah, it's early stages, it's something that we're looking at. There's no neglect there. We've been to games, we've been to training, we've had some guys in, but the whole thing probably in the next year or two will start to pick up.
Definitely takes time.
I'll finish kind of on that transfer business with obviously we've got a few outgoings. Just any words on those guys, like say your Stuarts, your Scott, your Rorys. I think we've kind of had a wee bit with Rory obviously because he announced at the end of the season that he'd be going, but
yeah. No, these guys have been outstanding servants to, not just us, but to, I know them 3 you mentioned are going out of the SPFL, but they've all had unbelievable careers. They're good friends of ours, they're been amazing teammates of ours, so them 3, I think, to, again, just what we're saying, sometimes there is that time where these guys are moving on, and that seems, that has been this summer. So I think they can really go out again with another league title, for them, which is brilliant. The other ones that have left, your Ben's, Jordon, Wardy, they've all played big parts in this group, I think I said it as well after the last game, we don't have a successful group on the pitch if you don't have these guys. They're at training all the time, they're in the dressing room all the time being positive, So yeah, I think everyone's leaving it, look, that's football, is it? The people come and go all the time. I guess they can all go away with their heads held high and delighted they've got and we're delighted for them, they've got a league winners medal to go away with. I don't know if we missed anyone else out there, have I, that's leaving the club?
Connor, Duffy and Jamie.
Duff and Jamie Walker, yeah. I mean,
but again, it's football, is it? Like, there's comings and goings. Like Connor started his first 2 months with us really well and has a bad injury and he never recovers from it, so we have to move on, and we spoke to them all at the end of the season. It's probably the first thing that we've done was book Ibiza and sort the players that weren't going to be here. for this coming season, and just thank them for the input that they had, whether it was little input or big input, like you say with the first three guys. They've all brought their own mark. They've all been professional, and all leave a winner's medal.
I've had a question about the new Challenge Cup format. Obviously it'll be completely different for us. Do you guys see it as a hindrance, or do you think it'll be beneficial in the end, getting more games, more chance for players to get minutes, or is the thought of some midweek trips away to Dingwall maybe to play Ross County B team not sound that appealing?
I think it's different. It depends on squad size and stuff, does it? It depends on that young guys we're talking about potentially, coming in or whatever. Then it would be great for them. For guys that aren't playing, it helps, because sometimes that is a case where you're running a squad you need to run a squad of 20 or whatever, because you've got a starting 11 and 9 subs, so we can't use them all every week. So I guess in that sense it
but
does
then you
help
have to prioritise. Is it league? Is it a Scottish Cup run where management were being judged on results, but we see this is a smaller cup, give it guys an opportunity. So,
but it's travel as well for part time, as you say there. You mentioned Dingwall, so you can imagine getting one of our South based players to say, right, you need to be in Dingwall on a Tuesday night. That's difficult.
And you're not playing because you're a key player, and you're playing on Saturday, and it's a balance.
Or the other side, and you want minutes, but you have to travel 4 hours. Like it's, I think it'll be, I don't know. I think I could be wrong, but I think 3 of the games are at home, or there's more games at home. But again, home for us is Peterhead. So again, for South boys, it might be a half day off work or whatever. If it's part time.
It's probably something that you'll diagnose after the tournament or this time when we're speaking, hopefully next year, and saying it was a hindrance, or would I like to have done that, or we ran a squad of 19 and we really needed a squad of 24 again. It's like we'll work that out. But one thing we don't want to fall short on is our main priorities, which would be like a good Scottish Cup run, or solidifying ourselves in League One, as opposed to a decent enough Challenge Cup
being
run.
competitive.
Just to look forward on next season, obviously we've had 3 games this year, I think, against teams that were in League One last year. 1-2, obviously lost to Montrose, but more than gave them a good game. How much confidence does that fill you guys with going into next season? Definitely,
I think it gets stronger every year, these leagues, and there is a step, because League One you're automatically, I think you've got 4 full-time teams, but again, we believe the group we've got, that core group, and hence why we want this group to be together for if that's contract extensions or signing new deals or whatever it is. We believe we've got a good group there, and we can be competitive, but we know we have to go up to the next level. We know we need to improve the group, and the squad needs to be competitive. But yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting to be back in League One. There's some big clubs in it, but it is a jump. With it, full-time teams should automatically have an advantage in terms of more time. More time to pitch together.
We're at a major disadvantage that way. You look at the 10 in the league, and every 10 team has good players, good squads, good history, full time. But like I say, last year playing the 3 teams, I know we lost at Montrose, but we were good that day as well. In the cup,
I suppose it's doing that consistently, is it? One-off games are great, but
one-offs, week in, week out. But yeah, we've a decent enough 15 just now. It's obviously hard for us right now to say where we'll be, how we think it will go, because we've got quite a long way to go with pre-season, and probably need to bring in 2 or 3 players. But that might not happen in the next 2-3 weeks. So just have to see, and hope that we're ready come the 1st of August, because that's still a while away, and there's a lot of work for us to do.
Looking forward to fixtures, and then we'll plan out and finalise this squad. And I think pre-season, as Ryan says there, we'll get a real good feel of how we're going to attack this first period of the season.
Yeah, day 1 as well, flag day as well, and we always play at home, so it's an exciting time for us to think about that, and hopefully we've got a really strong, fit, ready team to go into that match as well.
What would you say are your main objectives for next season? Is it staying up? Is it pushing for playoffs? I know you've mentioned a couple of times a Scottish Cup maybe Ryan as well.
Yeah, I'll start. I think right now it's difficult. Of course, for me right now, we need to align them as a club. For me right now, where we're at with 14, 15 players, it's difficult for us to say. But obviously survival is the main thing, is that we're still playing League One football in a year's time. But we obviously see ourselves a little bit it would be. It's not as exciting to say it's just a survival. It's a dead season. Let's just survive. Our players don't want that. We don't want that. We want to be excited by coming to our work and challenging the top four or going even better than that. You know what I mean? That's not saying that our objectives are that high, but our objective, of course, is to stay in the league. But we see ourselves as better than that and more competitive. But right now, we're far too early to say we want to be top four. If we finish fifth, we fell short. Or, do you know what I mean? We've a while to go before we can sort of say that. Scottish Cup runs is big for the club. Whether it's a run or it's not a run and it's a big club away to, an Aberdeen or something for revenue. So Scottish Cup's a big one for us, with intake and finances that comes with that. We've been quite unlucky, I think, in the Scottish Cup. We've always had really early difficult ties, maybe away to home to like Ayr United's or Dundee, things like that, like really difficult. And we've been competitive in them, but at the end of the day, you either go through or you don't.
No, I think we spend a lot of time also when in constant contact with the chairman, the vice chairman, and they've been great, and it's just aligning the club, right across, and really using this period to. I don't like to use the word stabilise because obviously everyone's ambitious and want to go up, but I think we highlighted I think Peterhead's now became the team that's won League Two the most, 3 times. But again, that comes with a warning, as you don't want to keep finding yourself back in and out. So I think there's some great examples out there. Montrose's, Arbroath's, who have really went on. Of course, football can change in a nutshell, but I guess that would be the medium to long term, is to go and really try and force our way up. But I think we have to be realistic. We have to be aligned from right through the club. But as Ryan says, we don't want it. The players don't want it. We want success and want to continue to drive up the way.
Of course, it's a difficult time on and off it, but it is for everyone. But the season needs to be. It has to have a real energy. It has to be exciting, and we don't want it just to be a season, and we'll see where we're going next year. We want things to be exciting. And I think now, of course, there's a period of survive or whatever, but it's also a period of we can
exciting.
Really go implement ourselves.
The team's now full of winners as well. They are full of winners. And when you win that title, when you win that league, you want to go and keep winning, and you want to have success.
The age of the group's fantastic. Like that 14, 15 players that we have, apart from maybe Pete and Cammy, 29 and 33. The rest of them are like 22, 23 and are only going to get better.
You got a final message for the fans?
Just exciting. I think we're all excited by League One, going to different grounds again, challenging ourselves in that league. And we hope the fans can continue to turn out in their numbers. It'd be great to get 2,000 each week at Balmoor, but we know that's not realistic. But we hope to keep generating and keep getting everyone on board on the same page and keep getting everyone, together. That feeling of that last game, we don't want it to be a one-off. We want to keep having them highs, keep having them moments where we feel it, you feel it, the fans feel it, where everyone's together. So no, it's the support's been great and positive. There's going to be some trickier times for sure this year.
Don't boo us when we lose 4-0.
We've not to go to Elgin, which. Yeah, look, it's been difficult. We can have a laugh about it, but no, I think they're big improvement things for us. But I think there's some nice away trips for the fans as well. Up to Inverness and stuff, which would be good. Maybe not down to Queen of the South, which is again the opposite way. But
nice close one with Cove.
Cove would be a good one. It's always good to be back in Cove. Obviously, we've got history there. We've got a lot of competitiveness there. It's exciting for us to go and play against Cove again, of course. But again, they've come off the back of an outstanding season. Really, really strong side. So. Yeah, I think that wee derby feel will be good again, and of course that's an aim to be competing with these teams again. Where Peterhead should be, and we fully believe they should be at a minimum in League One and competitive in League One, and it's exciting for me.
I think it helps us. Yeah, I don't need to say anything else that he has, but I think it goes without saying. We're strong at home. Why? Because you've got your own pitch, your own support, your own environment. You're comfortable with it. I think if we can increase our numbers going away from home each week as well, that'll help us. Because there's no denying League One's going to be very difficult for us. We will face some adverse results at times or difficult sticky patches, but it's key that they stick with the journey, they stick with the process, they don't disengage with it unless it becomes really bad. Like they got their supporters, they stick with the team. One bad result might happen, but it's not through bad intention. And just keep the numbers coming up because they help the club massively.